What's the most dangerous food you've ever eaten? Go 2000 said. Accidentally ate a poisonous mushroom on vacation when I was 5. I was non-responsive and ended up in the hospital for a couple of days. To clarify, we had gotten a basket full of mushrooms from some friendly locals for dinner. None of them were poisonous except the one I ate. Nobody knew it was poisonous until I didn't react to anything later that night when I was already laying in bed. Vladislanovich said. You unlocked fast travel to the hospital. Edit, thanks for the gold. I appreciate it. Edit 2, LOL. I can see that everyone has experienced fast travel one way or another. Thanks for the awards and updates. Brock and Jasper said. I survived the Destroying Angel, Cornell Mushroom blog account of someone eating the Destroying Angel mushroom and being lucky to have survived. Mushrooms can take a while to hurt you with their poison. I've read there are even ones that can take a week plus. Scary. I usually assume if I make it 48s on something questionable or not sure wild edibles, that I'm fine. I've only really messed with easy to identify ones like chicken mushroom Letoporus, and pheasantback Cereoporus squamousus. I'd like to add more easy ones like oysters, chanterelles, and morels. Mushrooms in particular make me nervous though. Some that kill you, you won't even know it right away. Lavender Cookie Dow said. Yes, I have this and react to so many kinds of raw fruit, but not always and not when it's cooked. Frozen is iffy. If that doesn't sound like some fake made up bullshit, I don't know what does. Every time I go to the dentist or whatever and they ask about allergies, I have to try and explain it to them. They're just like, I need the actual fruits you're allergic to. I can't put that all on the form, so I just tell them cherries because that's the only test that came back positive. Although my allergist told me that happens a lot with OAS because the test fruit is processed and you need to test with raw fruit to get an accurate result, but I'm too poor to buy that much fruit for the test. It's extra confusing for people when they see me eating one of the fruits I've said I'm allergic to, but my allergist said it was fine to try a bite, wait 5 minutes, and keep eating if I don't react, since the level of proteins that I react to vary between each individual fruit. I've been accused of faking a lot of times, but I've got a just-in-case EpiPen now, so showing them that usually convinces them it's real. Only then they get all concerned that I'm risking my life for a peach. Frustrating how people can't trust that I know my own condition and how to handle it better than they do. Renet01 said. Methylsulfonylmethane, or MSM. It's a dietary supplement that some people take to treat joint issues. My Phil was taking it and wanted me to try it because it has a very peculiar taste. He gave me a spoon that probably only had 1/4 teaspoon of the powder on it. I took it, tasted it, it was very bitter, and swallowed. Within a few minutes my throat began to swell, I had some tightness to my chest and some wheezing plus some hives a while later. I had started into anaphylaxis. Luckily it didn't proceed too far. That's how I discovered I was allergic to sulfur and/or sulfur compounds. It's also what I joke about with my Phil, the time he tried to kill me for marrying his daughter. Loathsome X said. I once got a concerning abscess on my thigh. I was around 23 at the time. Not having insurance, my friend who had recently had a staph infection and didn't finish his antibiotics gave me the rest of his. I took one. Throat tightened, but not too bad, but I got the worst headache I've ever had in my life and my neck felt like it was in a vice grip, like it was being crushed. I got extremely tired, like I felt like I had been drugged but couldn't fall asleep due to the pain. Was late for work, had extreme nausea, got to work, explained things to my coworkers. Had to sit in the office for a minute. Started to take another when a coworker walks in to check on me and grabbed my hand and asked what I was taking. Told her antibiotics. She grabs the bottle and tells me some people are allergic to sulfur-based antibiotics. I call my mom to ask her if I am allergic. She tells me yes. You're an idiot. She's never informed me of this in my life, ever. So that's how I found out and how my mom and future boyfriend tried to murder me. Jobby Josh said. Just for your information to anyone reading this regarding antibiotics. What's happened is in the past, not trying to throw shade. You shouldn't take antibiotics unless they're prescribed to you, even if there's no insurance, sorry. You have to be certain that the antibiotics will be effective against the bacteria causing the problem. If it isn't bacterial, then it won't work, full stop. However, an infected abscess could be bacterial. However, you can't be sure. You have to take enough to kill the bacteria, and the dosage can vary among people. There could also be contraindications you're unaware of. You should always finish a course of antibiotics, even if you feel better. It's like having asymptomatic COVID. The bacteria can still be there and will multiply again. By not ensuring they're all gone, there's the risk that a strain evolves which becomes resistant to the antibiotics. Since there's trace amounts still in your system, it's not enough to kill them, so they develop an immune response to it. Antibiotics aren't a panacea, and their overuse is a risk to us and livestock if we keep using significant amounts, especially livestock being routinely dosed. That's a very bad practice. Twaxmuck 181 said. Bananas. Apparent I'm allergic to them and didn't know for the first 28 years of my life. My daughter was describing how bananas make her throat itchy, and that's when my wife told me that wasn't normal. Still love them, I'm just a bit more careful as to how many I consume. Top Crickin said. Fried rattlesnake. The guy didn't tell me it was still filled with dozens of tiny ribs which lodged in the back of my mouth. I had to reach in with my hand and pull them out before I felt safe to breathe again. Edit. It was lightly flavored and flaky like fish. I'd eat it again. H0 Dairy said. That's not the only thing. Those things need to be boiled 3 times before they're perfectly safe to eat. Apparently, this was a thing that hunter-gathering, don't quote me on this, people in dire need of food would do to discover how edible certain foods were. They'd at first cook and prepare the food in as many ways as possible, and then one by one remove a step from the process to see if the food was still edible. Sumit 316 said. Hockerel, Icelandic pronunciation, hokkardl, an abbreviation of castor hockerel, referred to as fermented shark in English, is a national dish of Iceland consisting of a Greenland shark or other sleeper shark that has been cured with a particular fermentation process and hung to dry for 4 to 5 months. It has a strong ammonia-rich smell and fishy taste, making hockerel an acquired taste. Now you know. ZZBC said. So my husband and I tried it on our honeymoon in Iceland. We tried it because that's basically the only place in the world we'd try it, and it's a traditional food there. The guy who was us try it told us to imagine it being like a super funky cheese. I had an immediate gag reaction. As soon as it hit my tongue, my body said it absolutely wasn't food. However, my husband, while it's not a thing he just snacks on, didn't think it was bad. But he also liked funky cheeses like Limburger. Slithering City said. Those round red and white striped mints they give out at some restaurants. Choked so bad my dad had to stop the car on our way home and check if I was alright. Then my parents banned me from eating those for a few years. Oh, and a few years ago while eating sushi, I accidentally ate a big chunk of wasabi. I didn't see it on my chopsticks. My lips swelled up so much I'm sure the Kardashians would have been jealous. This almost happened again on Saturday. Sabinus Romea said. When my mom and sister were planning on an extended trip to India, my mom made them follow quite a strict plan of prebiotics and supplements, etc. for about 6 months before they went. My sister thought it was over the top until she saw what Delhi Belly did to other Westerners who were also there on extended trips. Apparently nothing makes you appreciate an overcautious mother quite like witnessing a sunburned crying Canadian couple squirt liquid shit all over a packed train car. Sabinus Romea said. Building and maintaining your gut flora before and during traveling abroad can help prevent catastrophic literal shitstorms, and helps reduce their severity recovery time if you do get sick. It's not 100% guaranteed to keep your gut safe and happy, but a lot of seasoned travelers like my mum swear by it. I didn't go on the trip myself, so I don't know exactly what supplements they took or the regime they followed, but I know it was a Pro Plus prebiotic combo taken before and during the trip, topped up with lots of fresh yogurt, mango lassi, when they were there. They didn't get so much as a gut gurgle the whole time, traveling south to north over a month, but historically speaking our family falls on the iron stomach side of things anyway, so I am MV. Mildly Agreeable said. My mum worked with someone who got gastroenteritis from a street-cooked chicken in Delhi. He had it for 3 weeks. It then got to the point where he had to come home because it just wasn't going away. He was in his mid-40s, so it wasn't something you can just sort of shrug off. Anyway, he got home and the long-term effects meant his gut bacteria were essentially fried. This was years ago. He ended up getting sepsis, or something similar, and never really recovered from it. This was a good 10-15 years ago, so it's probably already killed him. Arthur Cart said, I like Malort a lot, but I have a weird palate and I completely understand why most people would rather take a punch to the face than drink it. We took a trip to Chicago a few years ago, and it was recommended, with a bunch of smirks and winks, that I try it. So finally we go eat at a gastropub that served it and I ordered a shot. The waitress brought it and stuck around to watch. And everybody was disappointed because I drank it, and instead of the typical reaction, I just said, hey, I kinda like that. But for anyone curious as to what it tastes like, it's basically like taking some Jägermeister, adding some turpentine, then drinking it from a shot glass made of grapefruit peels. Scribblywitch 994 said, I don't know if it was me who cooked it wrong or the fact that it was sitting on display in the deli cabinet until the end of the day when the shop was closing, but it gave me such violent gastro-food poisoning I thought I was going to die. I've never experienced food poisoning before. My family had gone on holiday while I was home alone and I couldn't eat, I couldn't stand and could barely drink. I didn't have any appetite, and when I forced myself to eat to survive, I would vomit or shit it out immediately afterwards. I've never shit myself before, and I've never experienced shit that was clear and watery because water was the only thing entering my body. Realistically, I should probably have gone to hospital, but I've never been before and I didn't want to put stress on them because they get so busy. Now that it's all over, I'll always appreciate being able to eat food and have it stay inside me. And also never buy chicken schnitzel from the deli in the supermarket ever again. Chihoku said, chicken sashimi, which is indeed uncooked chicken, parrotfish sushi, which was found to be able to transmit some brain parasites. I'm told I should not have eaten mole meat for whatever reason. Blowfish, sure, bees and hornets and sometimes their nest, snake liquor, one of those thing where someone has some and no one else will drink it, and you can tell they're like, please drink some. So I have a story to justify this senseless purchase. Some questionable fermentations, unpasteurized milk and illegal cheese. Edit, forgot the knot with regards to the mole. Chihoku said, here's the thing, it really comes down to the shape of it, prepared similar to fish sashimi and served on similar plates with a strong, but light, lemon pepper sauce, or simply just rock salt, and it looks fine, no more slimy than fish. This is, or with pepper vinegar, is how I've had it and seen it prepared in Okinawan style. Other times, like ahi tuna, where you might have the fillet kiss a hot pan or oil for a few seconds, the surface is hit with contact to a hot surface or a gas burner to firm it up for a moment and change the visual appearance. Either way, it's a stupid idea because chickens are not clean, and processing a chicken is challenging, too. I didn't really have a long drawn-out conversation about it when I was eating it. General J.O. said, probably 10 years ago, medium rare chicken. Friends and I were in 10th grade, none of us have grilled before, got some really cheap steaks and some chicken drums to grill in a shitty one-time use aluminum tray grill. The steaks were cheap and thin, so they cooked fast. The outside of the chicken cooked while the inside was completely raw. Me being impatient, hungry, and stupid, I took everything off the grill, cut into the steak and saw all was well cut into the chicken and thought medium rare is fine. That's how I like my steaks anyway. Absolutely destroyed 2 drums. Happy and content, I laid back on the couch in a food coma for an hour or so. I don't remember exactly how long it was. Then out of nowhere I had the sudden urge to vomit, ran outside, vomited everywhere, and went back inside and passed out on the couch. I couldn't move, only had enough strength to call my brother to pick me up from my friend's house. He literally had to carry me to the car and back to our house. I don't remember what happened after that, probably slept until the next day or so. That is how I probably almost died from being hungry. Fork and Bowl said, backstory, I was broke as hell, could barely afford liquor, much less food. Somehow I had money to buy a pound of bacon, a treat I had not had in a while. I got called into work, and then had a whole series of things pop up preventing me from coming back home. I get back and find the bacon, decide to cook some, and as soon as I open it I see it is green, and smells horrible. Fuck if I'm going to let that stop me. I cook it and it actually smells like bacon, in death. I take a bite and gag on the smell, but there is still some underlying bacon taste there. I soldier on, and for some reason continued until I had eaten the entire pound. Oddly, I suffer no ill effects. I think my youth, pre-existing chronic diarrhea, and the soul-crushing volumes of antibacterial clear liquids I consumed probably helped prevent anything toxic besides me from surviving the event. Temporary Mind 6771 said. Grew up in Japan and it's a delicacy here. I find it delicious, especially when it's a course meal. I won't eat it outside of Japan though. The chefs have to go through years of training and you have to get a special license to cook fugu. The poisonous part is also locked away in a special safe which is collected by a special waste collection service. Ate it many times and have never had any issues, not evening numbing, so I assume what you say is psychological. Despite these measures, I think around 10 people get poisoned each year or something like that, but I'm sure other food have killed far more people. Pause and consider said. Bandeja paisa in Bogota, Colombia. The dish itself is fantastic. Just a shitload of beans, eggs, meat, avocado, if you know you know. I was working in Bogota, but didn't know the areas incredibly well. We met this dude at one of the jobs, early on, before I learned how to be more careful, who said he wanted to take us to a specific restaurant at a specific time. We got there, ordered, then an unusual amount of people started leaving the restaurant at the same time. Our driver, local friend, well vetted by the organization I was working with, pulled one of us to the side and said we needed to leave right now. We listened to him and left immediately, so I'll never know 100%, but what he told us later is that the guy we met was setting us up to get robbed. The driver was a little suspicious of the dude to begin with, but wasn't sure until people started leaving the restaurant. A couple weeks later an American got robbed and killed like 2 blocks from there. Could have been unrelated, but still spooky. Always wants ice cream said. Went on a study abroad to India. Our group went to a reception dinner at a local school, where the cooks had made a special northern delicacy for us. It was a very yummy goat curry, and as I'm happily munching away, wiping my eyes every few minutes because it's super spicy, of course, I crunch into something. My throat immediately closed up and I'm fairly certain my face turned purple. It felt like I'd been doused in napalm, and also an elephant sat on me. A friend sitting next to me is looking at me like, dude, are you okay? What do we do? And I'm just there trying to figure out how to breathe again. I don't want to offend anyone by spitting it out, so I just swallow it and immediately regret every decision that had brought me to that moment. I managed to get hold of the bowl of fresh mango they had been passing around and just shoved a piece in my mouth and prayed. Then I look around me and see that even the local folks are pulling these ugly little peppers out of their mouths without biting into them, just setting them to the side. Turns out it was a ghost pepper curry and I, an asthmatic, chomped right into one without realizing it was there, and it was so freaking spicy it triggered an immediate asthma attack. And I was so anxious and socially awkward that I just powered through it by sucking on a piece of mango until the tears had stopped enough for me to excuse myself to go find my bag and get my inhaler. So yeah. Asthmatics beware, locally grown Indian ghost peppers will get ya. North Star Zero said. HM. A slice of bread is roughly 4.5 inches per side, or 20.25 square in. 2 ounces of Nutella per slice of bread. Jar of Nutella is 35.3 ounces. So that is 18 slices of bread per jar, or 357.5 square in per jar. Convert to metric, that's 0.23 square in per jar. A horse has a surface area of somewhere between 3 and 6 square meters. Let's assume a caribou is about 5 square meters. That's 22 jars. Add 10% for spillage wastage, call it 24 jars. In case you want to try,